It's a great day to be alive. Welcome into the Dead Jeff Show, episode 5. Cowboy fans, Cowboy fans. Oh, the horror. What we wanted to happen didn't happen, and what we didn't want to happen happened. So we'll get to that in a little bit. On today's show, we're going to also talk about the Mavs Spurs game that we streamed live for a little bit, did a little test. We're going to go around the NFL a little bit and talk about the best teams in the NFL. As usual, we'll have What's Killing Jeff and Nick's picks for you gamblers out there. But first of all, again, welcome into the Dead Jeff Show. I'm Jeff. He's Nick. I don't think I said that, but I think they know who we are by now. Hey, and again, before we get started, please like and subscribe. If you're hearing this video for the first time, or if you're second time, 10th time, just please like and subscribe. It helps us out. And if you feel so kind to leave us a review, we'd appreciate that as well. Also, one of the videos we did, the Maestro cut up and put together, the one about Tony Romo and being 30 years of no championship window, is doing rather well out there. So we thank you for the love on that. And interesting fact about that is on the broadcast yesterday on CBS, Tony Romo actually made a similar point with Jim Nantz. They were talking about 2013 when he was playing the Broncos and the 51-48 shootout or whatever it was. And he actually talked about the comparisons of that season where the defense was terrible and the offense was really good. And I think they were 8-8 that season. But it was really cool to hear Tony talking and comparing this year's team to that team as we did on that video.
Yeah, when I was watching in real time, as soon as he started, you can almost see where the train of thought was going. And as soon as he started talking, I said, "What are the chances?" Right? I mean, I guess maybe not, especially since it's Romo himself. Not so far fetched, but I did definitely have just in real time. I had a chuckle, and my wife was like, "What's so funny?" And I told her, I said, "We were literally just talking about this, and the video is doing extremely well on the social media channels." But yeah, I mean, look, unfortunately, it's very, very true. So that, just gives it that much more credibility.
Yeah, and I think the funniest thing about the 2013 team is you had Monty Kiffin as the defensive coordinator. You had Rod Marinelli as the defensive line coach. And our old linebackers coach was Mr. Matt Eberflus as part of that 2013 defense that gave up like 27 or 28 a game. And so Eberflus is now the defensive coordinator, as we know, and Fire Eberflus is trending everywhere. And I can't say that I blame him, and we'll get into the game in just a minute, but I thought that connection to the 2013 team was interesting. And I think when you talk about wasted years with Romo, and you talk about how many times he, and let's be fair, he made his share of mistakes. He's not perfect. But really, the defenses he had, the bad O-lines he had, and there were years he had good offensive lines, don't get us wrong, but he's running for his life back there a lot of times. And then he would feel kind of like Dak's feeling right now. I got to score 35 points a game to win, or at least 30 back in 2013. So the parallels are very similar to the 2013 season, and they finished 8-8 that year. And I think that the connection with Eberflus was peculiar.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. When you told me earlier that Eberflus was a linebacker coach, I almost thought you were trolling me. I didn't believe you. That's how ridiculous this is. You just literally can't make this stuff up. But we know Jerry Jones loves recycling players,
Who he's
coaches,
familiar with.
who he's familiar with, probably who goes along and gets along. So it's not super shocking. He even had a comment this week about Sean Payton and the coach that never was, it just never lined up, and just kind of those comments he was making. But yeah, man, the fact that the fact that what is probably going to be just points per game strictly, we're not talking about advanced statistics. They gave up 27.7 points per game in 2013. This year will probably rival that. But the two, in the last decade or so, give or take, worst defenses, Matt Eberflus has his fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, and that's I guess if you've watched this season play out, it's not shocking. let's get into it a little bit. So Cowboys lose to the Broncos 44-24, and it may not have even really been that close. But Dak was off yesterday. He was 19 for 31 for 188 yards and 2 interceptions, and the interceptions were not good. It wasn't like the receiver messed up. But Javonte Williams was slowed down. You got away from him late because they were so far behind. 13 carries, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And we'll get into that in a minute. Pickens looked good. Lamb looked okay. But just the offensive game plan, got thwarted by self-inflicted wounds, and we'll get into that in a second. But again, Bo Nix had a great day, 4 touchdowns, 247 yards passing. Dobbins, we couldn't stop the run again. And so he went for 111 yards, and that only on 15 carries. That's the thing about that. So that's the stats. We did not get pressure on Bo Nix hardly at all. Dak was under a little bit of pressure. We talked about last week the Cowboys going up against this defense, and the point we made was, can we score 30 on that defense, and can our defense hold them to 30? Well, we see how that worked out.
Yeah, I think the big issue that I have with that is everything you just said, and yet Dallas is only really 1 score away from the 30-point mark. So Dak did not have probably his worst game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're 1 possession away from essentially hitting the 30-point mark, 29, 30 points. And it just never felt close. Dallas could have scored 35, and this was still going to be a 2-possession loss. So I think, yes, the offense did not have their best game, but, like you said, one of those, the second interception was terrible and was essentially in the red zone. So if you're going to tell me you've got a chance in the red zone to take it to 25, 30 points, you got to at least feel somewhat okay against that defense. The offense didn't play great by any stretch, and yet you're still in that spot. But oh, by the way, your defense gave up 3 touchdowns to RJ Harvey.
Well, and here's the thing. The defense was terrible. It's been terrible this whole year. And now you have 3 starters missing, which means that next man up should provide an opportunity to see if you got any depth on this team. And man, it was worse. And that's to be expected in the NFL. You can't have depth at every position, but we've seen on the offensive end where next man up has worked, but on the defensive side of the ball, it was just flat out awful. And here's the thing about the Cowboys at the beginning of the game: the hope showed up, and we got an INT on their first drive. We got the turnover right away, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a banner day. We had the young Bridges starting. He's making a play. This could go differently.
And then it falls apart so quickly. And I just want to say one thing to that: the next man up mentality. Because we talked about this when we were missing all the offensive linemen and the guys came in and just played, you didn't even miss a beat. I want to kind of recycle this conversation topic because it was such a, just hard debate online about the George Pickens stuff, the contract, and do you pay him? Do you trade him? Just that whole conversation. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't use this as the opportunity to say, this is exactly, at least for me, what I'm talking about. You got a guy that you're going to have to pay 25, 30, 35 million to. And you have, just think about if you draft as well as we say you do, McClay and all those guys that can find talent, then take that same money and go get 3 or 4 starters, right? I shouldn't need that level of offensive production if I've got a defense that's serviceable, right? So this is just I'm not speaking for you, but this is what drives me crazy about the Pickens conversation. I love having a great 1A, 1B, maybe the best 1-2 tandem in the NFL. No disagreement. I would rather have a better edge rusher. I'd rather have a better linebacker, and I'd rather have a better safety. And that's what I could spend that money on.
Well, here's my thought. That's the philosophy you sold to us. Jerry did when he said we're not going to pay Micah, we're going to trade him, and we're going to get 3 or 4 players. And one of those was Kenny Clark, who was supposed to come in and help us stop the run. And we don't hear his name a lot called on Sundays for making plays. I'm not saying it's all his fault, because there's people around him that you can talk about before you mention Kenny Clark. But you said, hey, we're not going to pay Micah, so we're going to go get these other people, and we have to give them a chance to prove that. But the problem is, if you don't pay Micah and you don't pay Pickens, now you've got, you think six guys you're going to go get for that money, and the question is, who are those guys, and do we trust the GM of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, and Will McClay, to go find that talent? Because for me, you are already in this position because of bad drafts the last few years when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And you have a one pick for this year that's not fair. He hasn't got on the field yet, and that's the cornerback. Is it Revel or Reveal? What is his name? I can't think of his name, but he's been injured. So I have to then trust that you can go find those guys and get them in here and keep them. And so I do agree with something Jerry said after the game. He said, we're not one player away on this defense. That's true, but you'd be one player closer had you signed Micah. Now, again, I understand trading Micah. I don't know that you can give him 47,000. I really don't, or 47 million. I don't really want to talk about that much anymore because it's over, it's done. But what we said last week is, what is the plan? And you got the Diggs situation. You got just all these questions are all on the defensive side. And when we talked earlier about the 2013 team, that offense had Dez, DeMarco Murray, Jason Witten,
Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley. You had weapons on offense then, and you kind of had a similar. The offensive line was better, not better than this year, but getting better back then. And you had Miles Austin on that team, and so you were okay with having a clear number one in Dez, and then a tier 2 or 3 guy in Miles Austin who came out of nowhere. So I understand. Okay, you don't want to pay Pickens. Let's go. We can find a number 2 receiver somewhere. Oh, let's use that money on the defensive side. So yes, I agree. We're not one player away, but I just don't know what their plan is, and that's the confusing part about this with the Cowboys. Again, I just I don't trust Jerry to do the right things with the draft picks, with the signings. It's just, that's the kind of mess we're in here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think trusting Jerry is such a, how can anybody at this point? He would have been fired probably 5 or 6 times over in any other position. Or if you could, magically pull apart the two people. But I think here's the thing, and you think about the Denver game, you think about going forward, the defense is so risk averse, right? We talked about them blitzing last week and against Justin Fields and what they did to Fields, and it's becoming more and more painfully obvious when whether it's Eberflus, I assume, feels like they've got a quarterback that can make plays, or where he's going to hurt you if you send in extra players, then he just feels like, no, I'm just risk averse. I want to keep everything in front of me.
Hey, newsflash, he hurt you anyway. So you might as well do it being aggressive.
No, that's exactly right. And that's what I'm saying. That's my point, right? We know what's going to happen when you try to play the sticks, when you try to play that same zone defense. They're going to try to stay on schedule. And then on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, it's going to be a short little comeback route over the middle, and you're going to get a first down, and they're just going to dog walk you all the way down.
Yeah, and I think, as the game started and the defense got the interception, and you think, oh, good, we're going to go out and get a lead. This is exactly how the Cowboys are built. Let's play from in front. We don't have to worry about stopping them if they can't stop us. We get the pick. We go down. We get to 3rd and goal from the 1, and we get a penalty, a false start on Hoffman. And throughout the day yesterday, there were self-inflicted penalties at the worst possible time, and that seems to be a hallmark of a lot of Cowboy teams. It's not just that the fact they get penalties, but the fact that they get them at the worst times. Either it's a big play that the offense just did, oh, it's got to come back, or it's a third down on defense and we're getting off the field, but oh, there was an offsides later. They're just mental mistakes that you can't have when your talent is this poor on defense and your coaching has been subpar on defense. You can't now have those mental mistakes contributing to that. So we have to settle for a field goal because we jump off sides on 3rd and goal from the 1.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and you'll see this with, the elite quarterbacks, whether it's Mahomes, whether it's Josh Allen. You're even seeing it from some of the younger guys that are starting to come up. I saw Jordan Love do it multiple times last night. It was less about taking an offense down the field and scoring, and whether this is Dak or whether it's a Shoddy, it's about the well-timed extended drive that keeps your defense on the sideline, that just lets them, just to your point, just lets them get a little breather, right? And when you have these self-inflicted wounds, when you have these silly pre-snap penalties, or even the post-snap ones that, like you said, you get a stop on 3rd and 9 or whatever that was, and then James Houston is offsides, and it's like, all right, well, now it's 3rd and 3. Of course, we know what's going to happen here, and they scored 3 plays later. So you talk about complementary football, and you hear Schottenheimer talk about it all the time. You want to be good in all 3 phases. You want to play complementary football. We've said it before. Is the A-bomb is the only consistent thing we got on this team. Brandon Aubrey is the only thing that I feel confident in week after week after week. Everything else, it's kind of let's wait and see what we get.
Well, I mean, up until this game, you felt that way about Dak. I mean, he was consistent. The defense he played was a level up from where he, the defense that they've been playing, against. But the Philly game is one defense that they played, you could say, may have been tough. But you felt that way until this game about Dak, and then it seems like old Dak showed up, the one that everybody was trying to run out of town. But so I can give him a pass on this game. But Javonte Williams, you feel pretty consistent. He's been pretty consistent, right, until this game. So I think I don't want to be a creature or a victim of overreacting, but I see your point. I think on you talk about other than the offense, there's nothing that's been consistent other than the A-bomb, and I don't know. I don't think that name's taken off. I think that I'm coming around on the A-bomb, but I don't know that it's catching on out there because they're still, they don't have a nickname for him.
Yeah, just give it time.
I saw a shirt with butter on it, like you said before. It said butter, but that one's corny. But A-bomb, I think, there's something consistent that happens when you drop an A-bomb. Things blow up, right? So when he hits that ball, it goes to the uprights and blows up the scoreboard.
Yeah, I was just watching Remember the Titans, great movie, and
I have seen that lots of times.
When Coach Boone walks up and hands a playbook to him for the first time, he says, "Awfully skinny playbook." He says, "I run 6 plays, split veer. It's just like Novocaine. Give it time, always works. Just give the A-bomb a little time, man. It'll catch on."
Yeah, and I think that so we get consistency from him. He's automatic. He's the real Legatron. But that's the only complimentary piece that you have. And special teams, Turpin did okay. But the defense, there's nothing complimentary about the defense right now. You can't, I mean, and that's what makes decisions like Shoddy not going for it on 4th and 5, punting in that scenario. So I think if you say consistently we've been impressed with Schottenheimer up until this game, you get down to 3rd and goal from the 3, and they give it to Williams. He gets a 2-yard run. So now it's 2nd and goal from the 1, and they try to pass to Pickens on Surtain, and Surtain breaks it up. And then he's a little shaken up after the play, and you're thinking, okay, let's just, punch it in, and then we get the false start. So I don't think you can say, oh, okay, Shoddy, maybe you should have just gave it to Williams 3-4 times in a row to get that touchdown. We cut him some slack there. It's the first drive. But later, there were some questionable things that he did, like the 4th and 5, not going for it on your own 44 when your defense has been Swiss cheese all day. We got guys running wide open. You got Dobbins and RJ Harvey running all over the place without being touched sometimes. So those are questionable decisions, and maybe the road pressure got to him.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys on the road versus at home, and this is true of basically the entire Dak Prescott era career. That is definitely something that has always been true. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. You're right. However, I will say I think especially the 4th and 5. You know, when it happened, the immediate thing I thought when I saw the punt unit going out is Denver's going to bleed at least 5 minutes and take 3 more points. And at that point in the game, the time was more critical than the points. I wasn't saying go for it, although I had a very strong feeling that the defense is going to give up points. It was more about the time because Sean Payton is a really good coach and he knows what he has and what he doesn't have. He's not going to dial up bombs in that situation. He's going to dial up a methodical, time-taking drive that's going to end in at least 3 points and most likely 6, as I'm sure what he was thinking.
Well, I think most people think Sean Payton's a good coach. I'm not sure about Russell Wilson. He made his feelings known about that. And so, yeah, I think you're right about that. I think that, Sean Payton has been a good coach. I think he might have underachieved for what people think of him. But again, he did get the Super Bowl with Drew Brees. But there was all this talk about Sean Payton all these times, and the timing never worked out. And we're aware of that. But man, I don't even think if Sean Payton was the coach of this team, I mean, he's an offensive minded guy. That's not what we need, right? And I think that the biggest takeaway for me coming out of this game is if Eberflus was a player and played like he's been coaching, he'd be benched, cut, or possibly traded, But how is Eberflus get away with this kind of performance? Last week, you got a little bit more aggressive. You blitzed. You played more man. This week, it looked like you went back to some of your old tendencies, or at least didn't do it as much. And so now you're thinking, okay, is it the personnel? Is it the scheme? Is it both? But the coach is somebody who has to rally the personnel behind the scheme. And we don't know why Trayvon Diggs is acting the way he is. Maybe he doesn't like Eberflus and his scheme. Maybe it is. Maybe he is medically injured. We're not sure. But the point of a coach is, I got to win you over. I'm not going. Not everybody is going to like everybody, but at least you got to believe that your scheme and your vision has a chance to succeed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the other thing that we're seeing, and you think about Jaden Daniels versus Bo Nix, seemingly if I'm willing to blitz Jaden, then I'm willing to blitz Bo. But I think the other piece of that is what Washington didn't have by way of outside weapons last week. You're down Debo, you're down Terry, you're down Noah Brown, even who they use as kind of a deep ball guy in Washington. So I think what I'm trying to say is Eberflus does not seem to be committed to one thing. My defense must play this way in order to be successful. I'm going to try to be too cute and I'm going to tailor this. And I understand scheme and I understand I've got to be considerate of the personnel on the other side of the ball. But with this defense, I don't know that you have that luxury. Play one way, let the guys get really, really good at that. Let them try to be effective while playing downhill and just be a bend but don't break defense because you have an offense that seemingly can give you anywhere from 25 to 35 week in and week out.
Yeah, just bend don't break is fine, but maybe give up some field goals versus the touchdowns. And we've seen that a lot here with the Dallas Cowboys through various years. They seem to always be in the bend don't break mode, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's just the lack of, I don't know, you feel like the defense knows they stink and they go out there feeling like they stink, and nobody wants to suck. I mean, that nobody wakes up and says, "Hey, I'm going to suck today. I'm not going to do my job very well today." Nobody wants to do that. They get paid millions of dollars to do their jobs. And to me, I think that the desire there is there. But man, when you don't have confidence, when you don't believe, when you don't have the proper, you know, technique or scheme, or game plan, then those players are going to be out in a hurry. And maybe that's what we have here. Now they're saying all the right things. Oh, Jerry's back in Eberflus, and Schottenheimer maybe not as much as Jerry is back in Eberflus, but I don't know how that guy keeps his job with this kind of performance. It's just annoying.
Yeah, and I think I said it. I think after week 3, I because Dallas is not someone that gets rid of head coaches, let alone coordinators in season. It's happened a couple of times, but not consistently. In fact, we know based on Jerry's comments, he does not like making those changes because you're essentially punting on that season, right? So I get it, but I don't think there's anybody anywhere that doesn't think this team, and I would say finds a way to go 8-9, 9-8, but only the Dallas Cowboys with the 17 game schedule can figure out a way to go 8-8. And that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, that's funny because that's what they were in 2013, like we said before, with a similar situation. Offense powerful, defense not so powerful. And here's my I'll put a bow on the Eberflus conversation is what happens if you fire Eberflus? Do we think the guy behind him is going to be worse? That's not possible. I mean, do you think that the defense is going to fall apart? They've already done that. To me, what are you punting on? You're in this. You're in the situation now, and you got. I mean, I have never seen so many people wide open running through a defense with nobody in the frame to defend them. I've never seen that many running backs go untouched for 20 yards. And we've talked about the linebacker play. We've talked about the safety play. I know their 2 starting safeties were out. But man, it is unbelievable that we can't get stops when we need them. And then this is the game we thought the offense would struggle a little bit. But man, that it's just I am sick of watching people running free in the secondary and running backs being untouched time after time after time. It's just Cowboy fans, I know you're with me on this.
Yeah, if not, if you have a pulse, you have to feel that same thing. I'm confident, and I have been since, like I said, since week 3, that Eberflus will not make it through the season. I do think you're right. I think Jerry is more willing to be patient than Schottenheimer is. It sounds like Shoddy is wanting to. He just every time they ask, it just feels a little less confident that yes, this is our guy. And I hope so, right? Because it can't be worse. Maybe it's the same, but at least you're trying to do something, or at least seemingly trying to do something. My outlook for the Cowboys now is do you, and tanking is the wrong word because I just don't, with Dak Prescott, you're not going to, but when you look at the schedule, how do you not find yourselves right in the middle of the pack? And then, the Packers pick is going to be looking like it's going to be in the back end. So just, you've talked about it before. Where's the hope here? How do I get out of this cycle that is 9-7, 8-9, 7-10, 10-7, whatever it is.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about the 2013 season was I think Kyle Orton had a chance the last week of the season. If they won that game, I think they would go to the playoffs, or maybe if they won that and somebody else lost, they would make the playoffs at 8-8 or 9-7 or whatever it was. And so I maybe they could get to a situation like that this year, but that's being real generous right now. I mean, to me, you have the Cardinals coming in next week. Now, the Cardinals, over the course of the last couple years, seem to really whoop our butt in the trenches. They seem to win the line of scrimmage against us time and time again. Now, to me, I'm not confident, whether it's Brissett, whether it's Murray, who's playing quarterback, he's going to have all day to throw back there. I'm not confident we can get pressure on them, and then I'm not confident we can cover anybody. So it's again, now the best thing for the Cowboys is this game will be at home, and our offense is very explosive at home. But I mean, if you lose that game and go into the bye 3-5-1, now what?
Yeah, I don't think that you will. I think it'll be 4-4-1, but I will say this, and I haven't looked at the player prop bets yet, but Marvin Harrison, generally speaking, underperforms. I almost guarantee you right now, this will be a breakout game for Marvin Harrison. 5 or 6 catches, 120 yards, and at least a touchdown. We're shooting this Monday at about 12 o'clock. I'm a week away, and I can guarantee it. Right, that's something that I feel really confident in, just because of exactly what you're talking about. The he is the type of athlete that is the bane to the Cowboy secondary existence. And furthermore, to your point, it's going to be a shootout, whether it's Brissett, whether it's Murray, because you've got a defense that cannot get pressure, and you've got two quarterbacks that move to extend the play. They don't move to run. And I think that's the type of quarterback, a la Jalen Hurts, that really, really hurts Dallas, or even Russell Wilson, where he's moving just to create time, and that sets up those big, long, deep shots.
Well, again, I don't know because the game's at home. You may say they'll win. They're 4-4-1 going into the bye, which is 500. And then you look at the schedule coming out of the bye, and you're like, there's how do we get to 7 wins with that schedule? And I think, and we'll talk about those games as they come. But for me, I don't have a great feeling about this Sunday. I think that they should take care of business. But the test was that Denver defense. And Denver's defense wasn't getting a ton of pressure. It wasn't like, hey, Dak's running for his life back there. But I'll tell you this, that was the test. The Cowboys failed. I'm going to give Dak a little bit of a pass because he's played so well this season. But the defense, I mean, at some point, that's got to be demeaning to Dak. I mean, like we said last week, you got to feel like you're perfect. And so hopefully they'll rebound. Hopefully they'll, play well against the Cardinals, and maybe the defense actually plays their best game. I don't know, but this is a roller coaster ride of a season. They might get 6, maybe 7 wins. Oh no, I did it again. I'm
Don't,
sorry about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
don't do
6,
that.
maybe 7. Okay, that was unintentionally, or was it? I don't know. But yes, and again, the Denver defense had Surtain out for the second half, and didn't seem like we knew about that. We didn't get that memo because, to me, and you had Surtain out and you had Moss committing, pass interferences all over the place, but we still couldn't get it done. So that will put a bow on our Cowboys versus the Denver Broncos talk. So last week, let's get into who are the best teams in the NFL. Has it changed since last week? For me, last week I had Detroit, which they're on a bye this week, so they didn't play. So, and then I had Kansas City, who plays tonight, and so we don't know how they're going to do. But you had Detroit and Buffalo, and man, did Buffalo look amazing against Carolina.
Albeit against Carolina, who is probably the biggest yeah but team in the league this year. You just don't know what you get with them. But look, you can only play the people on your schedule. We've said it time and time again. We're not going to judge anything other than what's in front of us, or behind us, I guess, in this case. Buffalo looks amazing. Josh Allen, you know, is definitely what Josh Allen is, defending MVP. I think right now Buffalo and Kansas City are on a collision course for an AFC title game, and my God,
Again,
what a game! I cannot wait for that. Um, I think home field advantage wins, right? And that's where this regular season is so important. But yeah, nothing changed for me, obviously, with Detroit being out. Buffalo looking amazing. I will say we'll see what happens with Kansas City tonight, but man, Patrick Mahomes is just playing on an absolute no. I mean, as good as that guy has been, he is just continuing to find ways to get just a little bit better, little wrinkles in his game. He's running a little bit more this year. So definitely can't count out Kansas City.
no, I agree. I think Detroit is still the best team, but I'll tell you this: the way Green Bay played in the second half last night was very, very impressive. And I know all the hype was Rodgers against his former team, but Jordan Love said, "Hey, don't forget about me." And that second half was pretty spectacular. And I think, Philly, we still, even though they're like 6-2 or whatever it is, you're still like, we're not sure about Philly. Is Saquon hurt? Is he just a little banged up? Is AJ Brown's situation going to get, more difficult? But I think right now I would say it's Detroit with Green Bay on their heels and Tampa on their heels for me in the NFC.
Yeah, you mentioned Green Bay and Jordan Love. They put up a stat last night during the game, which I just thought was wild. Since 1992, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Jordan Love have started 97% of the Green Bay Packers games. That is wild, right? You
Yeah.
got 33 years and 97% of your startable game have come from three guys. Credit to the Green Bay Packers organization. They looked phenomenal. I think the only other team that we're maybe leaving off here, and it seems apropos because so many people are overlooking them. When you hear all the pundits talking about all the best teams, do you hear some Jonathan Taylor talk? He's playing very, very well.
MVP.
MVP level for sure. But the Colts still don't feel like they're getting quite the love that they should be for a one-loss team that has looked every bit as good as maybe not quite Detroit, Buffalo, Casey, but they're certainly right in that mix. You give me the Colts and Philly in on a neutral field right now, I'm taking the Colts all day long.
Well, we know why the Colts aren't getting as much love. It's the Daniel Jones factor. It's people don't know whether to trust it or not. And at some point, they're going to have to decide. And I think whatever you want to say about Daniel Jones, that team looks awesome right now. And Jonathan Taylor is a great running game and a decent defense. Those will travel in the playoffs, even if you don't have to travel. You know that will win you playoff games. But I think it's funny you said that about Green Bay because they also talked about the Cowboys and Romo and Dak being, both having 10 years tenure. And so that's, one of the first times in the Cowboys history that's happened. You went from Roger to Danny, and then you had a big, gap to Troy. And then after Troy, until Romo, you had that big gap. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. But I think for me, I'm going to stick with Kansas City in the AFC. And again, that's before they play tonight. So if they lose tonight, which they, who knows? I don't think they will, but they could lose tonight. But, Buffalo's coming on. Pittsburgh, I think we saw a little bit of, they've lost now, what, two in a row? And so, and that last night was at home. So I would not put them in the best conversation of top three. So I'm going to stick with Detroit and Kansas City right now. But I do like the Colts.
Yeah, and I will stick with Buffalo. Obviously, I mean Buffalo did nothing to disprove that, but I would stick with Buffalo and Detroit. I think the NFC is interesting, where you've got the big heavyweights in the AFC. You've got the mainstays of Buffalo and Kansas City. You've got kind of the upstarts in the Colts, although we know they've got some veteran players there for sure. But just as this unit is constructed, but it feels top heavy in the AFC. Whereas in the NFC, I mean, you've got the Rams, you've got the Eagles, you've got the Buccaneers, you've got Detroit, you've got San Francisco. Was all you can never count Kyle Shanahan out of anything. But yeah, just to put a bow on mine, I would say Buffalo and Detroit are my 1-2. And I love watching Indy play.
Well, you didn't mention the Patriots, but man, you did last week, but not this week. And the Patriots are on the come up. And wouldn't it be nice to have Vrabel as your head coach right now? Even though Schottenheimer's been doing good, Vrabel has been impressive.
There is no shot he leaves Robert Kraft in the Patriots organization, but
Mm.
yeah, that would kind of be the dream. For me,
He was
get
available though. He was
he
available.
was, yeah. But look, I think we've said this many times before. As much as you want a defensive presence, I know you feel the same way. I do love what Shotty's done.
Yeah, I like Schottenheimer. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree. I do think a better defensive coordinator probably is on the books. But yeah, I mean, around the NFL, we're waiting to get into kind of that second half of the season to let these teams really start separating themselves.
All right, Maestro, you still going with Tampa and the Chiefs? Yeah. So yeah, he's sticking with Tampa Bay and the Chiefs, and yeah, they beat the Saints pretty good, but again, they don't have all their weapons back yet, Tampa Bay. But all right, Maestro's sticking with Tampa and Kansas City. So there you have it. That is the round the NFL best teams in the NFL. I do want to say one other thing about the NFL week. the officiating in the Philly Giants game, could they? I don't listen. You hear a lot of talk about the NBA gambling stuff that's going on and games being rigged and fixed and all that stuff. But they might have to look into this Philly Giants game. There was some very, very questionable calls going Philly's way in that game.
Yeah, the tush push stuff, and I don't even want to get into it, but I will just say, and I know it's kind of two different conversations happening here because the officiating just overall was bad,
It's been bad.
right? It wasn't any one particular thing, but also relative to they cannot officiate that play. It's happening too fast. The bodies are just way too close down there. The offsides false starts, even the way the center is kind of manipulating the ball there, just giving it that little extra half a yard, or half a foot, I should say. And then, the fumble situation, everyone saw what happened there. But yeah, the officiating on that play, and then, the narrative is Philly, Kansas City just get all the calls. So when anytime we do anything or see anything to validate that, man, we're all over it.
Yeah, and I think that that's not the reason Philly won, but it certainly didn't hurt them. But again, it's like you said, if you're biased or if you have a belief, you're gonna look for things to to support that narrative. But there was some evidence of it yesterday, and I think it's probably gonna make the news cycles all week. People talking about that because it was pretty glaring, pretty obvious things like okay, we blew the whistle to stop forward progress on that sneak, but they didn't blow the whistle. There was no whistle heard, and the ball was ripped away pretty quickly. So I don't know. Again, I could be biased against both of those teams. So I wish that game would have ended in a 0-0 tie, but of course it didn't. All right, so that's around the NFL. Next up, and Maestro, don't play the theme until I say the segment because I got it right this week, is What's Killing Jeff? Hit it, Maestro. All right. Last week there was some discussion about my dog Nova and the amount of slobber that that she produces when she drinks and eats and how many things it's been on. I would say the slobber streak continues. It's an everyday thing. But this week, what's killing Jeff is being a Dallas sports fan. It's killing me right now. I mean, we had to go through the Luka trade with the Mavericks. And that seemed to happen like at midnight one night, like a thief in the night. Luka's gone, and we get AD and a bag of tomatoes for Luka or whatever it was. It just wasn't enough, right? It wasn't enough. Now we ended up getting Cooper Flag, so you're like, but Luka, we were just in the finals. We thought we're gonna break through, and now we have to deal with this that we're dealing with right now, which is a restructure, a retooling. AD looks a little slow, a little puffy, as we said last week or whenever it was. But he's coming around, and he played great yesterday, and they got their first win. But that one hurt, losing Luka. Now I was one that said, okay, we could trade him, just get more for him, right? But then you have the Micah situation, and you're like, people getting excited about this season, and then the rug's pulled out from under us. And then it's the same old Cowboys, the roller coaster every week. So being a Dallas sports fan, just with those two teams, and they seem to be following similar patterns with trading mega superstars and maybe not getting back enough. Because remember, they didn't get Cooper Flag in the deal with Luka. It's just well, some of you think that they did. We talk about rigging things. Maybe the draft lottery was rigged, but um, maybe it'll lead to brighter days for Dallas fans eventually. But man, it's been a rough couple years for Dallas sports fans. I guess you're not going to contribute to this segment. You're just going to sit there and listen to what's killing me.
Yeah, I love your agony, especially given what the Spurs just did to the Mavericks. This is phenomenal. I just want to listen to this.
Yeah, you just wanted to let me sit in my agony. Yeah, that was awful watching Wemby go off on the Mavericks and all the excitement just bleeding out of my body. And I can't even talk trash about it. It's like it was just it's just disappointing. So we got two teams in retoolings, and let's bring up the Rangers. We don't talk a lot of Rangers on here, but we can. To 2023, you're in the World Series, you win it. And Bochy, man, he's the savior, right? He comes in and gets us over the hump. And then we have injuries and other things in 24. And then 25, we have the best pitching staff in the major leagues, and we can't hit the ball. And so now we're like, okay, now we're in a restructure with the Rangers, possibly with Skip Shoemaker coming in. It might be Schumacher. I don't know. Schumacher. But for me, it's like now we have 3 of the 4 major sports teams in flux. And the Stars are the only one with a little bit of hope. Now, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year, and they've gotten off to a little bit of a underwhelming start. But, man, it is really hard. And, look, I've been a Dallas sports fan for most of my life, and that's been a long time, let me tell you. But I would just say this. The last 2 years have probably been 2 of the most difficult years to be a Dallas sports fan. Is that all? Is that all you're going to contribute? You're just going to sit there and ignore me?
No, because as a San Antonio Spurs fan, I can't even say a San Antonio sports fan. We only got one team. And yet,
there's a reason for that.
Yeah, because we know where the bread is buttered, as they say.
Oh, do they say that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Somewhere. Maybe, I don't know, probably closer to your generation than mine. Look, here's what I'll say about the Dallas sports market. The fan base, especially for the Cowboys and Mavs, especially post Luka, it feels disheartening, right? And I have been a lifelong Cowboys fan, so I'm in that too. But as I'm interacting with people, it is so difficult to see the light at the end of that tunnel. And it is painful to some degree.
Why are you laughing if it's painful?
Because I only got one little piece of that, right? It's the Cowboys. And even then, you had mentioned a few weeks ago that, kind of this indifference has set in over us. And it's hard not to be resigned to the 8-1 season.
It's apathy.
It's just total apathy at this point. And meanwhile, the San Antonio Spurs look like, they're 2 years ahead of schedule as far as I'm concerned.
Take it easy.
I was hoping for
Take it easy.
I was hoping for a good.
This is what's killing Jeff, not what's getting Nick hype.
No,
okay?
No, this is killing you more. I'm sure I could see it.
Yeah, let's
I'm
stop
helping.
that. Okay, look, we're not gonna no. Look, Dallas fans, I'm with you, man. I feel it. Apathy for the Cowboys, but the Mavericks and the Rangers, no apathy there. We feel like we can get it turned around pretty quickly there and be right back competing. But I will say this. It's been a rough couple years out there, Dallas sports fans, and I'm here for you. This guy's not here for you. This guy wants to pile on. Even he says he's a Cowboy fan, but now I'm starting to doubt it.
Yeah, no, you can't doubt that. But I suffered through. I did my time with Dave Campo and Quincy Carter, so I've earned my stripes. But
yeah, now you're cheering me up. Those were dark days. Those were 5 and 11s, like 3 in a row, 5 and 11s with Campo or whatever it was. I can't even believe he lasted that long. But yeah, now you're cheering me up. It's not that bad, Cowboy fans.
Yeah, no, it could always be. You could be, way, way worse. And you're exactly right. 3 straight 5 and 11s. But no, man. But really though, Cooper Flag looked amazing last night. Glad to see them get a win. Hopefully they softened up Toronto for us for tonight.
Let's save that for Spurs talk, okay?
But I'm just saying, I see what you're saying about there is some on the Mavs side. You've got young talent, you've got reinforcements coming back. It's just a little tough right now.
Yeah, so we're gonna weather the storm, Dallas sports fans. We're gonna start a support group. We're gonna encourage each other. Whatever we got to do. Brighter days have to be coming for Cowboys fans. Well, we've been saying that for 30 years, but maybe it will be true. I wish I could quit them, but I don't know how because it's in my blood to be a Cowboys fan. I'm a Mavericks fan, and like you said, they're closer to the Cowboys. The Rangers we're unsure about, So let's go, Stars. It's all up to you this year to bring something home. So that's what's killing Jeff for this week. Thank you very much. Now, how did Nick's picks do last week, Nick?
Nick's picks have been very consistent. I went
Okay.
2-2 to start, and I hit the upset special.
All right.
Second time around, I went 2-2, and I hit the upset special again.
All right, everybody. So now it's time for Nick's picks. Hit it, Maestro.
All right, here we go. So, like I said, 2-2. Felt really strong about the Giants and the Eagles going over. They cleared it with no trouble. The upset special was the Jets over the Bengals. I got some online hate about that because, Taylor ended up being out, and basically I predicated the entire thing on I don't have to deal with Justin Fields anymore as starting quarterback. So that was a lot of the premise was no Justin Fields. They got a chance to beat Cincy. Justin Fields played, and yet, the Jets still come out with a great come from behind victory.
Yeah, it wasn't looking good for a while. It looked like you were going to miss that one, and Joe Flacco was raining on your parade. But then all of a sudden, Fields woke up and started playing.
Yeah, and I will say Joe Flacco has like a cult following, man, because his fans really came after me. They really just
Don't
didn't.
you talk about Joe Flacco?
Yeah, they really didn't. They really didn't like my anti-Flacco rhetoric. But so look, we're 4-4 to start the season, but we've hit both upset specials. So if you're following along and if you know what you're doing, even a little bit, although this is for fun, you should
no
be
wagering, please. It's for entertainment purposes.
For entertainment purposes only. We're doing pretty good. So let's jump into this week. We've got San Francisco plus 2.5 at the Giants. I'm sorry, San Francisco's minus 2.5 at the Giants. So San Francisco is getting, or the Giants are getting 2.5 points. That's especially with the Scatterbo injury. San Francisco is going to do to rookie quarterbacks what they always do, which is make life really, really difficult. So I like San Francisco minus 2.5 against the Giants.
Will Purdy be starting that game, or will it be Mac Jones?
I believe it will be Purdy, but based on what just happened to me last week, I'm going to stop short of making any sort of guarantees here. But I will say, I think Mac has looked very, very serviceable. He does not look like he's out of his element. Obviously, having Christian McCaffrey makes a big difference. Getting Kittle back has helped. I don't think it matters who plays quarterback. I think San Francisco wins that game by a touchdown or more.
I think it's clever of you to not have mentioned the Ravens game, where we thought Lamar would be back, and he wasn't, and Snoop Huntley was starting, and the Ravens won. You didn't mention that one. Why didn't you mention that one?
Yeah, that's the whole point. Because, and actually, if you saw, the Ravens came out and now they've got a whole internal investigation into how they're reporting injuries and all that. So, hey, don't blame me, man. They're trying to fool the whole world over there.
But you still picked against them, even if Lamar was playing. So you had a better chance of getting it right. But this is the one I challenged you on last week. I said, man, I don't know about that one, and I won that one.
Yeah, because Caleb Williams makes the terrible Dallas defense look worse, and somehow the terrible Ravens defense looks insanely better. I don't know what Caleb. If you're a Caleb Williams fan, I'm sorry.
Hey, just take the L and move on.
All right, we'll do that. So San Francisco minus 2.5, the upset special of the week, which is I don't know how this is an upset, but I can only go what the odds tell me. Right now, Buffalo is plus 110 on the money line. So they're a slight underdog at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we just talked about the heavyweight matchup that is the AFC title. You get the preview this weekend. You get Buffalo at home against Kansas City, where Buffalo is a dog. Give me Buffalo all day long. I think Buffalo wins that game, and that's the outright upset pick for the third straight week, and I feel real good about that one.
Buffalo does pretty well in the regular season against Kansas City. It's just the playoffs that they seem to trip up, right? And I think that's a pretty safe pick for Buffalo to beat Kansas. Are you saying they're going to beat them?
Yeah, that's right. Upset special, straight. Okay. No points, just straight up.
You betting the house? What are you betting on that?
I'm betting pretty strong. I like that bet a lot.
I don't know. Mahomes magic could show up at any moment, so that would keep me from going all in on that one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. The other one that I feel really good about here is Washington and Seattle and taking the over. It's 46 right now. Both of these teams score a lot of points. And Washington is looking like they're going to start getting healthy here. Debo and McLaurin back. The rookie running back, Will back there looks really good. So I think that's a game that has shootout written all over it. So I like Seattle and Washington to take the over.
Okay, awesome. Was that it?
No, you got one more here,
Okay.
and the last one is Chicago -2. Now I know we just we just talked about the quarterback. What's his name? The one that can't
Caleb
play.
Williams.
Yeah, that guy. We just talked about Caleb Williams, but I will say the Chicago defense is the thing that kind of gives you hope, right? That's looking like it's getting better and better. The 1-2 punch that is DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, no matter who's playing quarterback, that has been solid. And Joe Flacco fans are going to come for me again because they're playing Cincy.
You hate Joe Flacco.
I really just don't like Cincy, to be totally honest, which is terrible because my brother-in-law is from...
He hates Joe Flacco, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Cincy, I promise. I don't like Joe Flacco that much either, but it's really Cincy. So give me Chicago -2 on the road against Cincy.
Okay, so recap that for us because we did a lot of banter there. So we probably confused everybody.
Yeah. So here we go.
Wait, number one, you hate Joe Flacco.
Yeah, number one, I hate Joe Flacco. And then I like San Francisco -2.5. I like Chicago -2. I like Washington and Seattle to take the over. And the upset special is Buffalo over Kansas City in Buffalo.
Okay, and there you have it. Nick's picks for the third week.
That's right.
That's week 9 in the NFL. All right, so I didn't really want to talk about this today, but we're going to talk about this. It's the Mavs and the Spurs and what we've seen so far during the season. Now, some of you may know we went live Wednesday, just a test to see. We watched the Mavs Spurs game together, and we were both feeling kind of confident. And there's a wager on this season where you have to grow a big, fat, welcome back Cotter mustache or Tom Selleck mustache.
I like the Raleigh fingers. I'm going to probably go with that one.
Well, no, you don't get to pick it. I get to pick it. So you get what you get. All right. And so the way it works is if the Mavs finish ahead of the Spurs in the standings, you got to grow that big fat mustache, and Luke can throw up a picture of welcome back Cotter or Tom Selleck or both right now, so that we can superimpose your face, with a big fat his mustache on your face. Yeah. Because I still have confidence that that's going to happen. But last week was rough, man. It was rough. I know we're not supposed to overreact, but everything in our preview that I said was concern for the Mavericks showed itself in the first 3 games, and especially in the game against Wemby. My goodness.
Yeah, and I think you really kind of prophesize this whole thing, right? Because the single biggest concern, health being the main one, I guess, if I'll just be fair, but the one behind that was without Kyrie, what does D'Angelo Russell, what does D'Lo look like? And if you're gonna go with this experiment that's Cooper Flag at point, which they've been consistent there, what does that look like? And so far, it has not looked great. So everything, health notwithstanding, from an X's and O's standpoint that you talked about, man, has it been really, really, just kind of learning out on the job for Cooper Flag, and it's been tough.
I'm glad we're recording this because Nick actually gave me props on my basketball knowledge there. So thank you very much. I've only been in basketball my whole life, man. But I will say this. I do not like, I said it before, in spots, maybe putting Cooper at the point guard makes sense. But what we've seen so far is there's too many turnovers. And you don't have anybody. You don't have a strong ball handler, and you don't have a strong secondary ball handler. And D'Lo doesn't want to pass the ball. He wants to shoot the ball. Now, Wemby is a freak. He is the alien, the Area 51 guy, right? And so you got, 7'5", he's kind of a freak. He's the unicorn, whatever you want to call him, alien. So maybe we can overlook that. But man, AD was on the floor a lot. Not playing, like literally laying on the floor a lot. And we missed a lot of layups. We turned the ball over left and right. Couldn't shoot the ball against the Spurs, and they were shooting lights out. and we got blown out. And so the overreaction is, okay, that bet is over. And we didn't say my part of the bet is I have to hang your team picture in my office for what was it, a month?
A month, that's right.
And so you thought you were already getting the frame for the picture off of one game where the Spurs just took it to us. But I still have confidence that throughout the season we're going to figure out. And you saw signs of that last night, where the Mavs, put it together against the Raptors. But in between the Spurs loss, which even worse was we lost to the Wizards by 10, and George went off. Keyshawn George had his career day against us. And so right now I'm concerned about our defense because I thought that would be a strong point. But other teams are shooting lights out against us. I'm concerned about, obviously, our ball handling and the point guard play until Kyrie gets back, because he tried everything. He tried Nembhard. He even put Hardy in the game for a few minutes, and he tried everything. And no one can handle the ball on this team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they just weather this. And we talked about this, right? The bet, a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Welcome back.
Yeah. But I said the first 20 games are going to be really telling of how this is going to go. If Dallas can go 12-8, 10-10, I'm going to be worried. But what it's looking like, if it's more like 6-14, 7-13, somewhere in that range, especially if San Antonio keeps doing what they're doing, this may be over before the All-Star break, and we may go double or nothing or something.
Settle down. So you're boasting about beating the Mavericks, not at full strength. Then you beat the Kings, right? Was it? No,
Pelicans.
Sorry, the Pelicans. No, that's better, right? They're okay. And then who did you beat in the third game?
Brooklyn.
Okay, that's who I'm thinking about. The Nets. Okay, so you want to hype up the Spurs because they beat an undermanned Mavericks team. They beat the Nets, who stink. Don't bring up the Wizards right now because I'm sensitive about it. But that's like us. We should have beat the Wizards, but you haven't really played anybody. So I would not be thumping my chest too much if I'm a Spurs fan. Yes, you're 3-0. You're atop the Western Conference. The Rockets haven't won a game. I don't know. Did they play last night? Did they win?
I don't think they played last night. No.
They were 0-2.
0-2, yep.
The Mavericks got to win. We're 1-2. And it's hard not to overreact, but I would say, yeah, you can gloat a little bit for the first 3 games. But what I saw last night was a glimpse of Jason Kidd's plan working. Just a glimpse. Just a glimpse of it working. I'm not sold on it yet. Again, I would have done it in spots, but Flag was flying everywhere. AD was better offensively. D'Angelo Russell in the second half caught fire. And Max Christie is the new Klay Thompson, and they both had similar stats last night. So you're seeing all of that kind of come together, but I still am concerned about the defense because the Raptors scored 129 points against us, and we're not gelling on offense or defense for a full game. Second half last night was great, but you can gloat a little bit.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say about the gloating, because you're right. It's 3. Dallas, even without Kyrie, though, it shouldn't have looked like that. So I'm going to take that one with more. New Orleans, look, we go to overtime and Wemby is out within the first minute and they win the game by 11. So that's very, that's a great sign. That's a game that San Antonio's lost the last couple of years. And then yesterday with Brooklyn is the Dylan Harper coming out party.
Mm-hmm.
20 points, 8 assists, no turnovers, a lot of responsibility handling the ball. The guy looks way stronger than he is. He plays stronger than he is. But there's a couple of things going on here that I think should give Spurs fans a lot of hope for what's already been a great start to the season. Number 2 in defensive efficiency. Number 5 in offensive efficiency to start the season. Wemby, last year, averaged just over 7 points a game in the paint. It was like 7.7 points a game in the paint. So far this year, almost 23 points a game in the paint. That is scary if you're the rest of the league. If he makes that concerted effort to keep playing that way with the team around him, that's amazing. And then lastly, 2 of our 5 best players aren't even playing right now. Your second best player, De'Aaron Fox, is coming back. Jeremy Sohan, who is your Draymond Green, do it everything type player, is also on the way back here relatively quickly. So you're doing all of this without two relatively big weapons, and the young players are the ones that are really driving this ship. It's a really, really exciting time to be a San Antonio Spurs fan.
Yeah, congratulations. You beat the Nets. I think me and Luke could beat the Nets by ourselves. I mean, what do you want? A cookie? I mean, look, come on. It's the Nets. Listen, here's my concern. The Mavericks have to play the Thunder tonight on a back-to-back. Now, we just started the season, so why do we have a back-to-back? So we had to have that win last night because OKC. I'm not looking forward to that tonight. I'm a little nervous about having a San Antonio flashback here, but I will say this: Wemby has been so impressive. I think that you guys are amassing a lot of young talent. Um, and you got sprinkled in like a De'Aaron Fox, which was a great get, by the way.
Harrison Barnes.
And Harrison Barnes, a little veteran leadership. It's a nice mix. But Wemby is the thing you should be most excited about because if he can stay healthy, he is a problem. People won't be able to hold him down. And the other thing about Wemby is the teammates gelling with him now. And it's Wemby can be a freak on his own, but now everybody understands what kind of alien he is and what kind of freak he can be on the basketball court, and they're feeding him. And that's scary for Maverick fans, for anybody's fan in the NBA. So I'm a little concerned about going up to Oklahoma City tonight and playing a back-to-back. Although I want to say this, the Maverick throwback uniforms and the court that they used last night brought back a lot of memories from the reunion rowdies. The memories of the 80s, mid to late 80s, where the Mavericks were really coming on strong, and man, they looked spectacular. And yes, I ordered my Cooper Flag jersey, the green one, and they finally are retiring Mark Aguirre's jersey, long overdue. Um, Once upon a time, we traded him for Adrian Dantley. But anyway, um, gosh, I love that green. I love that logo, the throwback. It was fantastic, and even better, we got the win. It's much better than looking at that Loves patch on the Oklahoma City Thunder jersey, but I am nervous about tonight. I don't want it to be a blowout. We'll see how Kidd handles the lineup. He did give them some rest at the end of the game last night, so hopefully he was preparing for tonight. But yeah, you got first 3 games. Okay, we'll give you you're winning the bet so far. But man, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, and I like our chances. This is we'll go a little horse racing. This is Secretariat. We can do it all. We'll run the sprint or we'll go the marathon. The San Antonio Spurs, at this point right now, today, I'm telling you, at the All-Star break, I'm calling it now, October 27th. We're gonna give you a shot to go double or nothing. We're gonna see if you want out for higher stakes on your side of it once we get to the All-Star break, because it's gonna be over.
No, listen. I hope we did that whole segment with Nick's mic muted, so you didn't hear anything he said. I hope we did, but I guess we didn't. Yeah. All right. That's pretty much it for the Dead Jeff Show, episode 5. Listen, we want to thank you guys for staying with us. Again, I didn't realize Romo was still such a lightning rod so many years later, but I'm glad that he is. And then listen, I've enjoyed doing this show with you today, Nick. Even though you are taunting the Dallas sports fans out there, I'm here for you, Dallas sports fans. So thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for clicking on the videos, and we'll see you next time. Peace.